Okay, thank you, Bay. Thank you, everybody. Let's go ahead and start. We'll use the four measurable thoughts to set our motivation, and then we'll do refuge in bodhicitta. So for those of you newer to these practices, just try and really connect with the essence of your core values, things like love and compassion. And those of you more familiar, the prayers as written. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from desire for friends and hatred for enemies. Connecting with that. And then refuge in bodhicitta. Sangye churon soki chunam lai janchu paru dane kapsuchi dagi chunegi pe sonam ki jola penchia sangye drupa sho sangye churon soki chunam la janchu paru dane kapsuchi dagi chunyengi pe sonam ki Rola penchya sangye drupa shol sangye chudon sogi chunam la janchu paru dani kapsuchi dagi chunyen gi pe sonam ki rola penchya sangye drupa shol. And letting that connect. Okay. So today we're going to do a meditation on loving kindness, and this is going to go together with what we talked about last time with understanding the difference between love and attachment. And this time we're going to assume we know what we mean by love, and we're going to go straight to nice, tidy, clear, unconditional love and gradually expand that using ideas around equanimity and things like that. So I'll just do a brief recap of that last bit that we did last week so that we're all on the same page, and then we'll do the meditation. And then we'll shift to looking at a different way of understanding the mind from a Buddhist perspective. We've been looking at the presentation called Minds and Mental Factors, or Sem Semchung in Tibetan. Later, we're going to pivot and look at the presentation called Awarenesses and Knowers, or Lorig in Tibetan. And both of these presentations marry together. One is kind of understanding the way the mind works, its different functions, good news, bad news, just in general. The other is looking at the developmental processes you go through in actually trying to develop a realization of something. So that's the pivot that we'll do after we kind of wrap up minds and mental factors. So as I go through the review, just jump in with any questions you have about this content so far, because I don't want to lose anybody. So we've been looking at the presentation of minds and mental factors, the main minds or primary consciousnesses, which are very straightforward, related to the senses plus the mental one. And then we've been looking specifically at the different mental factors, those states of mind. And last week, we zeroed in on a couple of the virtuous positive mental factors. So when you're looking at this, just kind of keep it simple to what we're looking at. Mental factors are consciousness and are impermanent. They change moment to moment. They're a characteristic of consciousness. The way they differ from main minds is that they're more specific. There's more movement. There's more more chatter, if you will. They're the weather kind of the mind, whereas the primary consciousnesses are like the sky-like, reflective, vast characteristics of the mind. So this part of the presentation. Does this feel pretty clear? Do you feel pretty oriented to this general presentation? Yeah, generally getting there.
I can't remember all the bits and pieces.
Yeah, do you remember just kind of like the main categories and kind of like the headings more than the detail? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like telling the truth there. Yeah. There's a lot of bits and pieces.
There are,
Much.
and you can just hang on to there is an aspect of the mind that is like the clear blue sky. There is an aspect of the mind that is like the clouds and the weather. If you can hang on to that much, then you can start playing with what is my relationship to weather, or what is my relationship to states of mind. And then when you're ready for more detail and elaboration, you can circle back to that presentation and go into the more specific details. Okay. So we're just looking at the virtuous mental factors. Particularly, we're just looking at these ones. So the idea is that when you're upset with someone you love, it's often because you had attachment, not love. The upset is because the attachment didn't get what it wanted. Then you got sad or mad, either at them or at yourself or both, right? Story of our life, right? Classics. And so understanding the distinction between attachment and love becomes very important. These are both mental factors, but one of them is accurate and one of them is not. One of them is an affliction, one of them is positive. One of them develops negative states of mind that lead to the development of negative karma and future suffering. The other develops positive states of mind, which leads to the development of happiness, positive karma. So it's clear which is which on paper, but we really got into the specifics of the experience, right? So desire or attachment depends on your translator, right? Or desirous attachment perceives an internal or external contaminated phenomena to be pleasant from the point of view of its own entity and thereupon seeks it. It has the function of generating suffering. So whether it's something arising within your own mental continuum or within your own body, or it's something that you perceive outside of yourself, the contamination that we're talking about is that it's under the influence of karma and disturbing emotions. And so when you see the pleasant, you don't see the whole story of the pleasant. You see the pleasant person or whatever it is, object, situation, as being pleasant from its own side, from the point of view of its own entity. And so then you get hungry for it. And doing this has the function of generating suffering. And then in the list of the virtuous mental factors, we had non-attachment, which is an emergence from and non-desire for cyclic existence and the articles of cyclic existence, samsara. And so non-attachment is really the basis for generating something like love. And love from a Buddhist perspective is the wish for all sentient beings to have happiness. It's very simple, it's very straightforward. But the way we normally operate with love is, may you have happiness so that you give me happiness. And it's a business deal. Yeah, it's conditional, it's loaded. And it also thinks the happiness you receive by being in interaction with someone is coming from them 100%. And you're not looking at the relationship to your own attitudes, opinions, ideals that actually are the supports for that interaction to give you happiness. So we did this meditation where we're really doing a bit of a compare and contrast experientially. We were looking at what is actual, real love and how does it feel, as opposed to what is attachment when it's obvious. What about when it looks like love but is just pretending? And we did a bit of that kind of deep dive. So do you guys feel kind of like you're able to, at least using your memories, maybe not in the present, maybe not in real time, but using your memories, can you think of times where you know it was love and times you know it was attachment? Do you feel some sort of experiential difference between these two states of mind? Or do they feel all jumbled up together still? Getting clearer gradually, or probably all too clear, and that's not enough to change because needs more repetition.
I
How do you
just
just,
want to
yeah, please go ahead.
sorry, I'm speaking again. I just want to say that I know when there's attachment, when there isn't, because I feel joy for the other person. I don't know whether that's right or not, but for me, that's a difference. If I'm happy for the other person, no matter what they're what they're up to, what they're experiencing, then I'm less attached to my own kind of identity, if you know what I mean.
Yep, yep, like that, like that. When you're in a loving state of mind, it's easy to be happy for other people. Yeah, when you're in a loving state of mind, there's a more baseline contentment and stability and ease and warmth. And it's not got that possessiveness and that like worry about losing it and that tightness that comes when attachment is actually co-opted the moment. Yeah, attachment comes together with all sorts of other problematic thinking, like grasping at permanence. Attachment comes together with an assumption that this will remain. Yeah. Yeah. Deshe, is that right?
Yes, that's right. I'll turn on my video here. So, um, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you
Oh,
and I can see just your
I don't,
eyes.
okay. I don't usually use headphones for talking.
No
So,
worries.
my experience in this is interesting because I'm a widow and I had great attachment to my husband, but I also had great love for my husband, and he was chronically ill. And
Mm,
sometimes I would get annoyed by some of the stuff that was going on around it because we would always be running late because he moved very slowly and things like that. And but then there were other times, especially toward the end, where he was just so sick and dependent on us. And then, your whole heart thing opens.
yeah.
And then you realize that that really is the love that you're trying to generate for essentially everybody, but absolutely everybody, not essentially, unfortunately, it kind of passes, um, but it's a good experience to keep coming back to remembering to support and kind of throw myself into trying to expand and maintain that for longer periods. Um, and yeah, anyway, but letting go is still hard, even with
Yeah,
that,
of
because I still have attachment.
course. Yeah, of course. And I mean, it's really it's a bold and a spacious mind that can recognize the role of attachment in grief. That is, you know, we say, kind of like pro level work in terms of your
Yeah,
introspection, because grief is complicated, as you know all too well. And
it's
and just recognition of value and love, and that someone was important to you and had a positive effect on your life, and that is all good, wonderful, loving stuff. And then it's all mixed together with the expectations and the dashed hopes and the
yeah,
assumptions permanent,
and he's
it's all,
also the person that put me on my path.
yeah,
So yeah, he was a great teacher in that way because of his open heart.
it's beautiful.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
it's no, thank you for that. I appreciate that, and I'm sorry for your loss.
been a
It's huge
long
when we
time.
have someone like this in our life that goes. And from a Buddhist perspective, you have such a strong karmic connection by having made a commitment to each other in this way and having so many years of that commitment of care and just support, that you will meet again probably sooner rather than later. And that's something that, we may or may not recognize each other in our next lives. It depends on how clear our minds get, right? But we already have this experience of you meet someone for the first time, but they feel familiar. You know that you know them, and you already have some sort of affection for them. It just happens. Yeah. We have a few people already in our life where that's been the case, and it's just a sign that we are kind of picking up where we left off, but now we just have to get a little bit reintroduced and be like, oh, that's the body you're in now. Oh, how's it been going? And you'd have to kind of figure out, what's your name now? But that love and that continuity, you do kind of pick up where you left off, and that'll be the case with our loved ones who have passed. Eventually we will meet again, but probably sooner rather than later. And I guess, keeping the love part amplified, even after they're not in your everyday life for a while, that love part amplified to keep thinking, may they be well, may they be happy, wherever they are, wherever they're reborn, may they be well, may they be happy. And then when the attachment starts to creep in and says, how will I live without them? How will I have the same type of happiness that I had with them? How will I blah, 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 and you kind of get into that tightness that can come with grief, or that just emptiness that can come with grief, trying to fill that space with the love is there, the love continues, and love is like a wellspring that never ends. Attachment needs to be constantly fed. Love doesn't. So it's easier said than done, but you can keep that practice of amplifying the love side of the relationship and minimizing the attachment side even after they're in some other realm. And then the next time you meet, it'll be even cleaner and even more kind of warm and beautiful than it was even this time. So that's an interesting way to view loss. And attachment takes so many different forms in our life. I think that attachment to objects and attachment to situations maybe is more insidious and harder to recognize than attachment to people. Yeah, attachment to people, eventually you feel the tug of, ooh, I feel a little needy or a little entitled or a little grasping or a little hungry for them to be here. And part of you knows, oh, maybe that's not totally love. Maybe that is problematic, right? But sometimes with situations, we really tell ourselves big, elaborate stories about why we need something to happen a certain way. Yeah. And if something happens a certain way, then we will be happy. If things come together in this way, then I will be stable and content. Or I'm stable and content, but I just need this and this and this piece, and then resolution, then, and there's just this little gap of I'm almost there. And if I accomplish this, whatever it is, it will finish the story. But even when you get what you want, if it's under the influence of attachment, you simply want more. It's like drinking salt water, trying to satiate yourself, just makes you more thirsty. Yeah. So attachment's tricky. And with objects, it's also tricky because you have that feeling of I must, I need, and urgency. So with all of it, if you can kind of catch the feeling of now, I have to have it now, and really challenge that and say, if it's really, really important, I'll need it in 10 minutes also. So what if I put off buying it for 10 minutes and go do something else? And then you circle back, and after 10 minutes, the spell has been broken, and you might think, maybe I can wait, maybe I don't need it. Or you're settled enough to say, I do need it. It'll be useful in my life, but I don't have that same hunger. So now I can choose to buy it or get it from a clearer place. So it's if you can interrupt the momentum of attachment, you're already doing quite well. Because it really gets ahead of steam, doesn't it? It's like, I must, I must, I must, I must, I must. And if you can just cut it off for a second and then circle back when you've settled, then you're more likely to activate a positive state of mind. Do you have any questions or ideas about the difference between love and attachment before we do the meditation? Yeah, Leonardo.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, Leonardo, then Laran. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, like in my experience, I think the main point is the reference point, because um, love, when we talk about love, the reference is the other, because it's not about when it comes to differences and, you know, the limitations and all of that, it's not about the blaming on the others anymore. You feel that it's like something inside of you that you have to like work on, and you have to maybe change, or maybe to expand your mind, I don't know.
Mm.
But you stop this feeling of blaming and, you know, like putting the blame on the other. But it's not even about blame. I think it's not the word here, but on the other hand, the attachment, the reference is ourselves, you know, like we it's
Exactly.
something that has to be done for you to be satisfied. And there, as you said, that there is affliction involved. And I don't know, like in my experience, the main point is the reference, you know.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and that's a good shortcut way of figuring out, is it love or is it attachment? Who are you focused on? Yeah. Yeah. Are you focused on them and their needs and their welfare and what's best for them, or are you focused on what it does for you and what you need for you? Yeah, it's a good shortcut way of figuring out, is it love or is it attachment? And having love for someone else doesn't mean neglecting yourself, not at all, but it means that you're seeing everything in the correct proportion and the correct ratio and with a bigger picture. You know, so you're not kind of getting into that narrow focus that gets needy and clingy and entitled and just wants the need met immediately with this instant gratification feeling, and has made a person into an object of satisfaction. You know, so when you even it can happen in, you know, workplace scenarios where you're hungry for praise or you want validation and you need to be seen and you want people to appreciate you. And those are human, normal wants. Of course, we want to be seen well and to be validated and appreciated. But with attachment comes the, and if I'm not, I can't be happy. If it just lands of, it'd be nice if people gave me feedback so I would know if it's useful. But, you know, we'll see. I can also just observe their reactions and come to my own conclusions. I'm a grown up. As opposed to, do you like me? Do you like me? You know, you don't say it so coarsely, but that kind of hungry mind that's like, if I don't get the feedback that I want, if I don't get the validation I desire, then I can't be happy, or then I am unknown, or then my reputation must be terrible, or, you know, you go into a whole rabbit hole of therefore, I can't be happy. Yeah. Yeah, Ladon, you had something?
Yes, my question, something that I have, when I think about love and attachment, in the way that we feel um, like a bound between ourselves and our children, because it's so difficult for me to meet the non-attachment and love. I know that I want them to be happy, but then again, when they are happy, I am happy. And when they are not happy, I'm not happy. So it's me again, me, it's always there somewhere. And yeah, I can, in general, in my life, I can't distinguish between love and attachment, but not with kids. With my kids, I cannot. It's very
It's
difficult.
fine. Yeah. Yeah. And there's, you know, good survival reasons why that is, and there's good biological reasons why that is. And there's an element of very deep loyalty and love in there. And also there's attachment. And teasing
Mhm.
that out with a relationship that close is much harder than it is in other relationships.
Yeah.
And, even just kind of like trying to catch it is already doing quite well, because
Mhm.
lots of people, it's just so tangled up together. And then when they have big arguments with their children, they're not looking at the role of attachment being thwarted in their rage. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, know that those are the hardest ones, and those will take the longest to unpack. You know, close family, children especially, spouses especially, you know, those ones are particularly difficult to unravel. So just kind of giving yourself some spaciousness And sometimes doing analytical meditation on love versus attachment is useful, but sometimes it's also useful to just do a clarity of mind meditation like we did a few weeks ago and just kind of get more into spacious, reflective clarity.
Yeah,
That one sometimes can really help.
more helpful. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. Be nice to yourself. Thanks for raising kids. Joe, go ahead.
I'm not sure if I've shared this experience before, so forgive me if I have. But my when my father passed away, and my mum was still with me. Um, I can't remember what triggered it, but I I released I released them both from their role of being my parents. That I could see them as older people, vulnerable, and I looked back at their experiences in their childhoods and was appreciative that I had, I have the awareness and I've had the support to deal with things that I experienced. And so I released them from the expectations of and the idea of what a good parent should be or could be. And it was amazing. It was the last 3 years of my mum's life here. It was just more wonderful than, we'd always had a difficult relationship, but it was, once I saw her as just a fellow being who had suffered, and there were lots of reasons for why she did what she did, and so that's what I did. I released them from their roles, and so healing could take place.
Well, yeah, that's a beautiful offering of love. That's also some pro level work. Absolutely. Yeah. Because we put a lot of pressure on people who have been given roles in our life or we've given roles to in our life. So just kind of saying, how about I see you as you are? Yeah. How about I interact with you on a human level and without all of the pressure and the expectations of our life together so far? That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Dana? Or Dana? Dana? Oh, maybe accidental emoji. Possible. Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and do a loving kindness meditation. And this one goes really nicely with like Earth Day as well. It's basically deciding that you are honest with the fact that all sentient beings want happiness and have a right to happiness and the causes of happiness. But when we talk about the causes of happiness, we're not talking about superficial things or problematic things. We're talking about the deepest causes of happiness, the development of their own potential, their own positive behaviors, their own constructive behaviors that leave positive karmic seeds on their mental continuum that ripen as happiness. So when we say, love all sentient beings, we're not saying love their afflictions. We're not saying, acquiesce to their bad behavior. We're saying, may you have happiness, the deepest results of happiness, creating the deepest causes of happiness, those positive states of mind that are constructive and of benefit to all. So just kind of with that proviso, because sometimes when we do anything related to equanimity, all of our judgments come up about, I don't know if they deserve it, or I don't know if I want them to have it, or their way of getting happiness harms others. And we're not talking about the superficial level, we're talking about deeper levels. So the visualization goes, just to introduce you to it before we do it, we think about on our left side are our female relatives, like our mother or our mother figure, and all of our female relatives, or people with more feminine energy if they're non-binary. And then people on our right-hand side, we think our father or our father figure, and all of our male relatives or more masculine presenting people in our life. And we know we have good relationships and bad relationships with people we're related to, but we're just kind of putting them in a big lump on either side. this is my blood or this is my family, whether blood related or not. And you're just being with that visualization. And then behind you is going to go friends and loved ones who are not family or not related. They might be spouse and the rest. And in the front are the enemies or people that have harmed you or people that are difficult. So it's a equanimity related type visualization. And the common resistance is people won't stay in their quadrant, right? Because you've got family members who are really good friends, and you've got family members who are enemies, and you have enemies that sometimes become friends, and people aren't stagnant or stable in the categories so simply as the meditation goes. But just kind of think loosely. That's all sentient beings around you when we lead through. So that's the visualization, and then I'll walk you through more steps. So just get yourself into a stable posture with a nice straight back. And just take a minute to adjust however you need to so that you feel balanced and supported in your seat without rigidity, without tightness, but as stably straight up and down as you can be. Imagining your spinal column a nice stack, like a stack of coins. And think by bringing awareness to your physical body that it invites it to relax, to recalibrate, to balance. And if you like, you can take a few deep breaths to settle your nervous system, or just continue to be in the body, allowing it to ground. And then shift your focus from the body to a mental object. It can be your awareness of the breath, or it can be the clarity of the mind, whichever you prefer. But just choose one thing to focus your mental attention on in order to allow surface distractions to settle. And if your mind starts to drift or sink, gently bring it back to focus. Purposefully, but without pressure. Staying clear and awake. And come back to your motivation and think in particular, may I develop deep, strong, loving kindness for all living beings, free from attachment. And may my love continue to develop all the way to its fullest potential, which is complete enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. May the love we already have become more vast, more deep, and free from afflictions. And with awareness of that motivation, now visualize that seated next to you, facing the same direction as you, on your left-hand side, is your mother or your mother figure. Whether she's living or dead, whether you had a good relationship with her or not, think of your mother or your mother figure seated there next to you. The sort of clothes and colors that she wore or wears. Her face in a generally neutral or pleasant way. And as you think about your mother or your mother figure, also think about the things in her life that bring suffering or brought suffering. What was difficult for her? Whether these difficulties were self-created, whether they were real or imagined, whether you were a participant in them or not, just really think about what makes life hard for my mother. Physically, mentally. What is hard for my mother? Just listing those things that you know. And think that you say to her, I see your suffering. I see what is difficult for you. I see it, and I want you to be free of it. May you be well. May you be happy. And think that that attitude of loving kindness takes the form of golden light at your heart and fills you up, filled up with the golden light of your love. You become so full it's able to leave through your pores, spreading out to the left to your mother, blanketing her in kindness, in love. While you remain full, you also radiate out. And think that the light of your love touches her wherever she is in this world. Or if she's in another realm or another body, it finds her. And that she becomes more at ease, more at peace, more content. Her face softening, her body relaxing. And think that the light of your loving compassion and your loving kindness continues to radiate out to your left and finds all of the rest of your female relatives or feminine presenting relatives, sisters and nieces, grandmothers, aunts, cousins. Your love finds each one, and the light of it touches each one, bringing them peace. May all of you be well. May all of you be happy. You can see their faces in your mind's eye, one by one relaxing. The light of your love radiating continuously to the left, finding all of them, whether you remember them or not. It touches them. And you shift your awareness to the right side of your body and imagine seated next to you is your father or your father figure at your right side, facing the same direction as you. Whether he's alive or dead, whether you had a good relationship with him or not, imagine your father or your father figure there, seated next to you. The sort of clothes and colors he used to wear or wears. The way his face would be if it was generally neutral. And as you think of your father or your father figure, think of the things that made life hard for him or continue to make life hard for him. Physical difficulties, mental difficulties, the different challenges in his life. Let yourself list what is hard for him. Whether you think about his suffering as being something he couldn't help or something that was self-created, whether his suffering seems to be real or imagined, just see it, bear witness to it. These are the things that makes your life hard. I see you. And imagine that you say to him, I see you. I see your suffering. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be free of all of these sufferings. And that loving kindness and compassion, the golden warm light at your heart center, still filling you up, still radiating left, now radiates right as well, and blankets your father or your father figure in the light of your loving kindness. May you be well. May you be happy. Imagine his body posture relaxing, his face becoming more at ease, more content. That wherever he is in this world, in whatever realm, that your love is felt and it becomes a condition for his happiness. And light continues to radiate to the right, touching all of your male relatives or masculine presenting family members, brothers, uncles, grandfathers, cousins, nephews. light finding and touching each one of them, helping to bring them peace. May you all be well. May you all be happy. Whether my relationship with you is good or not. Whether you're alive as I knew you or have passed. May you all be well. May you all be happy. Seeing their faces one by one relax. Feeling light go to the right and light going to the left in equal measure, back and forth to your family. And a continuous radiance, both directions simultaneously. You remaining full. And then shift your focus to the space behind you and think that directly behind you is the person you're closest to that you're not related to. Could be your spouse, could be your best friend. Whether they're still alive or not, imagine that close one directly behind you, seated back to back, having your back the way they want to. Thinking about the way they would be sitting if they were relaxed, sort of clothes and colors they like to wear. The details of their face. This dear friend or this spouse, this one who has been significant in your life. Just think about what you know to be difficult for them, challenges that they've had, struggles, physically or mentally or both. And allow yourself to acknowledge them and list them to yourself. This dear one, what has been hard for them? think that you say to them, I see you, and I see your suffering. May you be free of your suffering. May you have happiness. May you be well. And that this love, which still fills you and still radiates left and right, now radiates behind you to them, blanketing them in light, in your kindness, your compassion. This dear one becoming completely bathed in light. Helps to put them at ease. You see the contentment on their face. And that light continues to radiate behind you to all of your dear friends, your chosen family, maybe treasured pets, but all the other dear ones in your life that you're not related to. Light flooding behind you, touching each one of them. Thinking to them all, may you be well, may you be happy. Those that come to mind easily, and those that you don't remember immediately, all of them touched by the light. Coming to more contentment. And very gently shift your focus to the space in front. And seated in front of you, facing you, at whatever distance feels safe, is your enemy or someone who has harmed you or someone you love. Someone that your normal response is aversion. Whether they're living or dead, whether they're still in your life or not. Imagine this hard case, this difficult one, in the space in front, facing you. And as you think of them, and it doesn't have to be the worst one, it can be one that feels safe to think about. As you think about this difficult person in your life, allow yourself to consider what sufferings they might be experiencing or have experienced in the past. The very things that may have informed the mistakes they made and the harm they gave. But allow yourself to list what is difficult for your enemy, for your difficult person? What pain do they have in their life? And if you're not sure, imagine what might be the case. Allow yourself to list. What is their suffering? And whether the suffering they experience is real or imagined, of their own creation or something they fell prey to, whatever conditions internally and externally brought it about, let yourself acknowledge that there is pain there. And see if you can allow yourself to say, I see you, and I see your suffering, and I wish you to be free of your suffering. And may you be well. May you be happy. And you're still full of the light of your loving kindness, still radiating left and right and behind you. Allow yourself to radiate forward in front of you light to this enemy, this difficult one, this harm giver who you have aversion towards. Allow your loving kindness to bathe them in light. That it becomes a condition for them to feel some ease, some peace. Imagining them relaxing, settling. And you continue to radiate light forward to them and to everyone who has ever harmed you. Childhood bullies, early romantic betrayals, problematic bosses, traumas large and small. Just allow your heart to send out the light of loving kindness forward, touching each one of them, bringing some peace. Seeing those faces that it's safe to see, becoming more relaxed, more at ease. May you all be well. May you all be happy. All of you who have harmed me or harmed someone I love. All of you that I have aversion towards. May you find peace. So see if you can allow your light to go forward in equal measure. The light you send behind you to the light you send left and right. Light going out in 360 degrees. Evenly. And think that light continues to go out from the people that you know to people you don't know, to other beings like animals, to all the realms. Light going to the people you relate to, the people you don't relate to. Animals you have affection for, animals you have aversion towards. Beings seen and unseen. Blanket the earth in light. Thinking, may you all be well. May you all be happy. The light goes out even farther, reaching every direction, flooding the universe with your goodwill. And allow the visualization to gradually dissolve while holding that awareness of your love like a wellspring that never ends, from your heart radiating out. And think, through this practice, may I develop unbiased, impartial love for all living beings. May all of this lead to my enlightenment for the benefit of all. Okay. So let's have a 5-minute break. See you in 5 minutes. All right, most everybody back? Let's see. Go ahead and pop your videos on if you're able to. I know some people don't have bandwidth, so they can't, but if you can, that'd be great. Let's see. So how was that meditation for you guys? It was a little bit different than what we've done before, a bit more visualization, together with very gentle analysis, but it was kind of operating under the influence of the things that we've talked about without talking about them directly within the meditation. How did it go? Yeah. Did you get stuck anywhere or intrigued anywhere?
Yes, as some people I just forgot about them.
Oh, yeah, right.
And then I think, oh, wait, another one, another.
You're like, oh, I have to write my sister. Yeah, Anna, go ahead.
Sorry, I had trouble unmuting my mic. I found it interesting noticing how it was easy to feel that warmth toward people who have hurt me, but who I knew well, you know, like I knew what suffering they were experiencing.
Yeah.
Whereas a couple people who have hurt me or loved ones who I didn't know as well, it was a heavier lift trying to imagine like what sufferings they might have been experiencing and how that contributed to their actions. Or yeah, just knowing that they are suffering beings and that they deserve love and compassion as much as anyone else.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good point though. It's much easier to send kindness to those that you know some backstory. Yeah, definitely. And those that you don't know kind of the struggles that drove their mistakes, it's harder to kind of forgive or open or send or anything positive because it feels like that's who they are at that moment in time where there was harm. And we know logically that there's always more to the story, but knowing the story helps a lot. And what we're trying to get into the habit of is recognizing that once you've known the story of someone, you do soften. Yeah, and the more you know about someone, the more you soften. That can we take our understanding and experience of that and then apply it to those that we don't know what fed their behavior, but we can make an educated guess it didn't come out of nowhere because nothing does. You know, and to make that leap is difficult, but to allow yourself to keep coming back to that logic of where have I been when I've made my worst decisions? Have I been in a happy place? You know, have I been in a struggle place? You know, and the people in your life who have harmed you that you know well, you know what's going on for them. And even if it's still terrible harm, there's part of you that kind of gets it. Yeah, or it could be something as simple as you've seen some documentaries about serial killers that you'd heard about your whole life and you knew they did horrible, horrible things. And then you watch the documentary and surprise, surprise, that didn't come out of nowhere, right? They had some sort of brain trauma or they had some sort of mental health issue together with some sort of very difficult family upbringing and exposure to things that were problematic, probably too young. That trifecta, you know, like that's what you get. That's what happens if someone is that badly behaved. It doesn't come out of nowhere. You know, even if you can do something with difficult, even evil behaviors of people that you don't know, but can have some objectivity with, like a documentary. And then you think of those people in your life who didn't do anything like serial killing, and you can kind of soften a little bit and realize everybody comes by their behaviors through causes and conditions relevant to them. But, you know, it doesn't mean you need to say bad behavior is good behavior. You don't have to do that. That's not what the meditation is. You know, it's really just, may you be well, may you be happy. And what can happen when you do a sending out visualization is that actually you can feel a lot more open and expansive. If you're just trying to be open without sending, it can feel a little vulnerable. It can feel a little bit exposed. You can feel not quite safe to be open. But if the open is together with ascending, love, compassion, light, that changes your experience of openness. So it's something interesting to play with even when you're not in meditation. You know, because sometimes we're saying, just open up, just relax, just open up and relax. And then part of you goes, no, not safe, don't want to. Yeah. But if you do that opening with ascending, it can have a different experiential quality for you. So it's something interesting to play with.
Yeah, I think that really did make a difference for me because I've thought about, you know, trying to be more compassionate toward these people before, but in more of like a trying to be open way. Um, but it felt very different thinking about sending that energy.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah. And just gently, gently. Yeah. Yeah, Leo, go ahead.
Yeah, like what intrigued me is because I have done this meditation before, and when it comes to enemies, um during the meditation I can feel the love, I can feel like I can see them for what they are, that they're suffering, and I can connect with that. But when I'm with them, like personally, uh, that just doesn't, I just can't feel the same way, And although I try and I am nice with these people, like when we are talking and having our relations, uh, it it feels like like faking, and it just doesn't feel like it comes from an honest place. Can you give some advice on that? Because I wouldn't like to feel like that.
Yeah, yeah, and you don't want to be inauthentic, and you don't want to be false, but you want to be loving, and you can be if they're not around, which is something, right? That's better than nothing. That's better than you were before. To have the warmth play out in real time with someone who is still in your life, but you have all sorts of difficult history with, it's a big ask. But if you can at least get yourself into neutral, yeah, neutral and non-reactive. And again, that clarity of mind meditation that we did a few weeks ago, where you're just staying with the mental experience and all your thoughts and emotions you view as clouds or weather, and you choose not to engage with them while still seeing them and allowing them to arise. If you can do a clarity of mind meditation and get yourself into neutral or even peaceful neutral, non-attached, that can be enough. Yeah, you don't need to force the warmth before it's ready. Aim for neutral. Yeah, and then it can be that if you're in a neutral place, the previous work that you've done on loving kindness will kind of spontaneously kick in when there's receptivity from the side of the difficult person. So it's a delicate dance with people that you've got complicated history with, but I think rather than try and hit the warmth just as well as you could do it in the meditation, aim for neutral. Yeah, yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you. Yes.
yeah. Thank you for the question. Other thoughts that came up with that meditation? Yeah, Joe, go ahead.
I think that's the I've not been so engaged with any meditation as I was with that one. I don't like sitting quietly anyway, to be fair. I confess that now when we're almost at the end of the module. And I think it helped to, I mean, I'm like, is it Larden? Where people kept saying, oh, I'd forgotten people, and then they kept piling in. And I think it helped with the enemy, because there was already, golden light going around people that I knew and loved, and perhaps, had to try to understand. And then I thought, well, who's going to be in front? And I saw the Christ and the Buddha, and then you said, put the enemy there. But of course, it's the same, isn't it? It's the same. There's no distinction. And then a huge gang of a lot of the world leaders came, and yeah,
Yeah.
And I, some of them we do know their backgrounds, others perhaps not. And I just thought, gosh, you're suffering with some of the things you're doing. You're suffering so much more than my suffering has ever been. And you can tell, can't you, by people's actions, how far away they are from who, the best, if they imagine the best of them themselves. And yeah, I just felt, yeah, just they probably need it more than anyone, I think,
Yeah.
perhaps. Anyway,
Yeah.
so thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful one. It's a Lama Yeshe style meditation, that one, and it's a really good go-to. And I guess the thing to remember when you're using kind of an equanimity basis to then develop qualities on top of like love, compassion, bodhicitta, etc., is that equanimity doesn't mean that you pretend not to have labels. You're not pretending to not have ways of categorizing people into friend, enemy, stranger, problematic, relatives, blah, 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 blah. We label people, whether we do it in words or we just kind of do it energetically. We put people into categories. What we're trying to do with equanimity is to not let those labels or categories be the mandate for how much goodwill. You say, ah, difficult, may you be well and happy. Oh, stranger, may you be well and happy. Oh, friend, may you be well and happy. You're trying not to let the labels be the mandate for how much affection they get, but how it looks can be particular to that relationship. You know, if you hug your mother, it doesn't mean you have to hug your enemy. But we're trying to get to a point where how much rapport you have with someone, your affinity with someone, your ability to relate to someone isn't what dictates how kind you are to them or how much warmth you can feel towards them. Yeah, so you're not changing and getting weird and making everyone neutral or treating everyone in an identical way with the same way of speaking and the same way of physicality and all of that. That would be strange, right? That's not what's being asked of us. But the easiest example is to say, you're not making everyone beige. You're saying there is red, there is blue, there is green. Those are different colors, but I like those colors. But I'm not making red into green. Yeah. So yeah, it's like that. Yeah, Bay, go ahead.
I have a question along the lines of putting the world leaders in the front. And I felt like I had to rationalize the idea of I'm sending them goodwill so they can do a little less harm. But I wonder if that is almost like putting an expectation in something that maybe I shouldn't have, but at least it feels easier to do.
Yeah, it's the background knowledge you have that, of course, if people have more genuine, stable well-being, confidence, contentment, they're going to be nicer, kinder, warmer people. You know that. You're not pretending that you don't already know that there isn't a little bit of an agenda. If people stop suffering, they'll also stop behaving badly. But in the moment, you're really just thinking, may you be free of your suffering because you deserve to be free of suffering. May you be happy because you deserve to be happy. But you're understanding the deep, deep causes of suffering and happiness. You know, that suffering comes from negative karma, comes from their destructive actions ripening. That happiness comes from when they've actually been acting from love, compassion, positive mental factors, and that needing conditions to ripen as happiness. So you're not wishing them like ego satisfaction of winning a war. You're wishing them the deep happiness and contentment of their positive karma ripening. You know, so that, you know, the only agenda is may you have that, not even when or how or why or whatever. You're just may you, open-ended. But of course, in the background, you know, and it'll go better if you do, you know, so you're not pretending not to know that. It's just not the emphasis of the meditation. So we gave that meditation a bit more time than some of the other ones. And so we didn't pivot to the next topic like I thought I would, but I think that this meditation warranted good time and good depth. So we'll shift gears next time. But I'll send you the slides for them in case you're curious and want to look ahead of time. And if not, no worries, we'll do it together in class. So we'll go ahead and dedicate. Thanks, everyone. That was a really good effort. Janchu Semcho Rinpoche, Ma Ke Panam Ke Gyuchi, Ke Pan Yamba Me Pa Yang, Gone Gondu Pelwa, Shotoni Dawa Rinpoche, Ma Ke Panam Ke Gyuchi, Ke Pan Yamba Me Pa Yang, Gone Gondu Pelwa, Sho. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
May.
Bye.
Night, night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Venerable.